Aloha class, so I'm looking at brief exercise 6-9. So this is your income statement, sales, variable expenses, contribution margin, fixed expenses, net operating income. And it says compute the company's degree of operating leverage. So I've typed this up, degree of operating leverage. So the formula to calculate that degree of operating leverage, so just to review, operating leverage is a measure of how sensitive net income is to percentage changes in sales. It is a measure at any given level of sales of how a percentage change in sales volume will affect profit. So we can increase sales volume or a percentage of sales. So if our sales go up 5%, the more operating leverage we have, the higher our net income will be. It'll be affected much more if our degree of operating leverage is higher, because it's a measure of how sensitive net income is with the change in sales. So the more fixed expenses you have, usually your degree of operating leverage will increase, and your net operating income will be more sensitive as sales increase. So let's see how that's going to play out. So number one, create what is the degree of operating leverage. So we're going to calculate that, and the formula, again, the formula was the contribution margin over the net operating income. Contribution margin divided by the net operating income. Our degree of operating leverage is 4.8, right? So 4.8 times, you could say, but it's 4.8 degree of operating leverage. So the formula to calculate an increase in sales, so if it goes up by 5%, right, we can times our degree of operating leverage, and that should affect how much net operating income is increasing. And so I could times that right across. So, and it looks like it's going to be 24%. So as sales increase by 5%, net operating income will increase by 24%. So, and number 3 says how, prove this with a proof. Make your whole income statement to prove that if your sales increase by 5% with a degree of operating leverage of 4.8, your net operating income will increase by 24%. So let's keep that in mind. Sales are going to go up by 5%, and then net operating income is going to increase by 24%, right? Because we calculated that degree of operating leverage. So if this is going to increase by 5%, we could times it by 100%, right? And that would be just like we're timesing it by 1. But we do want that additional 5%, so we would times it by 5, an additional 5%. So normally I like to solve for the number of units they're actually selling to get a per unit basis, but they don't give you that. They give you the percentage of sales. They said this was 100% of sales, right? And they said this was 40%, so that must be 60%. Remember, we could calculate that by doing 48,000 divided by 80,000. It is 60%. And so, yep, that looks fine to me. So if this is 100%, now we have a new 100% or a new amount of sales. This must be keeping the same ratio with the variable expenses to sales and the contribution to sales. We would keep the same ratio, right? So 40% of the 84,000, the new sales amount, and 60% of the 84,000. Or of course we could do the 100% minus the 40%. Should give us the same amount, and it was the same amount. Fixed expenses stays the same within the relevant range, and we could minus that, right? And so these went up. We manipulated the numbers, so the sales did increase by 5%. There's our 5% here. And if we were to times the 10,000 by 100%, that would give us 10,000, but we need an additional 24%. It was said we were going to go up 24%, and we have just proved that this degree of operating leverage factor is actually working, right? This 4.8 does hold true. If we increase our sales by 5%, we're increasing our net operating income by 24%. And that's your proof, or how you would do your new income statement over here.